coming. As you know, we have been stating for months and months that the budget is out of whack. We look like we're going to lose $110 million. And if you look at the budget figures for July and August that just came out, we're already $17 to $18 million below what the recommendations would be. We have a problem. We have a serious problem. We have been requesting that the governor and the members of the House and the Senate majority come back and take a look and do the cuts that we feel are going to be necessary to balance this budget. If we have that $110 million hole and the revenues continue coming in as they are right now, we are going to have a $2 to $3 million, $100 million hole next year. That is unacceptable. Over 38 taxes and fees were raised this past budget. We cannot increase the taxes and fees on the citizens of New Hampshire any more than they have been. We shouldn't have increased them as they were already. We need to come back. We need to make some cuts. And what we're asking for is that the governor step up, bring us back into special session, and make the cuts that need to be made. The revenue estimates, as I said, are out of whack. And let me give you an example. Somebody has a job, works 40 hours a week. For the past 45, 46 weeks, they've been fortunate enough to have maybe 45 hours a week. 1 week out of the month, out of the year, they work 50 hours. Now, if you were making up your household budget, would you predicate your expenses on the 50 hours one time a year, or would you predicate it on the 45 hours? Well, the Democrats have predicated it on that 1 week on the revenue estimates at the 50 hours. It just doesn't work. Before I turn it over to Peter, I'd like to give you one more sample of how the Democrats put this budget together. The majority floor leader, when we were doing House Bill 1 and 2, and the Republicans wanted to bring up House Bill 2 to get these revenues before we talked about the spending, and I quote said, "It makes sense to know how much you're spending before you decide how much money to raise. It makes sense to know how much money you're going to raise before you figure out how much you're going to spend." That's how every family in New Hampshire has to put their budget together. That's how the state of New Hampshire should have put its budget together. Peter?
Thank you, Representative Packard. Thank you all for coming. I echo the sentiments expressed by Representative Packard that we face a budget problem of significant size, and the best approach to that is not to look for more ways to increase taxes and fees, but for look at ways to control spending. With that in mind, we've asked Governor Lynch if he would share with us the budget submitted by his department heads early this year that called for funding at 97% of the prior level, basically a 3% reduction. We feel that the department heads who are hired by this state as full-time managers are in a very strong position to recommend areas for budget savings within their departments, and thus a great starting point for any discussion of where to decrease the budget would be with the folks whose job it is to operate those departments on a day-to-day basis. That work has already been done. We'd like to see that. We'd like to be a part of the solution. We're willing to work with folks from the other side of the aisle to accomplish that, though it must be stated, we feel that the solution to this issue is by addressing the spending in the budget and not by further increasing the taxes. This morning we delivered a letter to the governor's office requesting that we have access to the 97% budget figures. As I said, that will be a great starting point to find ways to bring spending under control in this budget. As I'm sure you're aware, spending in this state went up a total of $1 billion in this budget as compared to the budget we were operating under at the time, and $200 million even within just the general fund. So we feel there is room there to find the savings to make this work. We feel the full-time managers hired to run these departments are in a great position to make those recommendations. We'd like to take a look at it, and we think that's a great starting point. And so that is the second purpose of this. One, to call attention to the fact that we feel a Plan B needs to be put into place. That Plan B needs to focus on spending and not increasing taxes and fees. And finally, we'd like to have access to the budgets that have already been prepared by the department heads that reflect that cost savings.